people are here for the first time? First OX conference. Cool. 2 or more? 3 or more? How many have been to all of them? All right, that's great. We're excited to kick things off. Really appreciate James going through all of that data through our second annual State of Audience report. What we want to do now is widen the aperture a little bit more, bring in a little more light, and look at the broader industry here. Search is no longer a traffic strategy, it's a visibility strategy. Today, over half of all Google searches are ending without a single click. And when an AI overview shows up in those search results, organic results lose a third of their clicks instantly. At this point, nearly 99%, actually 99.1% at this point, of those AI-triggered queries are what we would consider to be informational, which means they're stealing attention right at the top of the funnel and taking away that traffic that you all rely on. The takeaway here is you can't just rank on a lot of this, you have to earn attention even without the click. So your content needs to show up, stand out, and deliver value directly in the preview at this point, because unfortunately at this point in a zero-click world, your headline is the homepage. So what does all this mean for audience growth? The era of free passive search traffic has ended. Position zero and AI overviews are eating clicks, which means fewer people are reaching your site through organic search, so your top of funnel just got a lot thinner. But here's the opportunity. That traffic wasn't always necessarily qualified. These weren't your key people. It was a lot of window shoppers, not your ideal audience. So now you're forced to really focus on quality over quantity. To stay on track here, your conversion rates simply have to improve. Every visitor, every form fill, every email capture has to work harder, which means optimizing every step of the funnel and not just that first land page. But this also opens the door to a lot of rich intent strategies, better segmentation, clearer CTAs, and more tailored nurture paths. And don't forget, and James mentioned this too, your advertisers are feeling this as well. Their reach is shrinking, their targeting is weaker. This is your chance to step in with some high intent known audience solutions that they're simply not going to be able to get from Google and the other platforms. So the rules have changed, but if you adapt faster than your competition, you're going to come out ahead. Now we're going to talk about everybody's favorite topic. We're going to talk about some bot clicks. Quick reminder on how emails go out the door. Publisher sends an email, schedules an email, Omeda deploys it. Security product like Proofpoint, Mimecast, Barracuda scans the email, determines if it's safe, releases it to the inbox, and now the inbox, Outlook, Gmail, etc., are going to decide where it goes. Options are primary inbox, promotional tabs or social tabs, the spam folder, or maybe it doesn't deliver it altogether. These security clickbots do exist for a good reason. They're part of the frontline defense against phishing attacks and human error, in addition to a bunch of other pieces. They scan emails before the recipient ever sees them, checking for things such as malicious links, reputation issues, and compliance risks. These bots help companies, including yours, including ours, stay secure, meet regulatory requirements, and reduce the burden on the IT teams. But the challenge, they also, as we all know, generate a lot of false positives in your engagement metrics, which is why advanced tracking and filtering are critical to maintaining clean, accurate email data. To ensure these click metrics really do reflect real user behavior, Omeda uses a sophisticated bot detection system that flags patterns no humans can replicate. A lot of you have seen this slide before. This table, it's on our knowledge base. We look at things like click speed, volume, IP anomalies, source IPs, for example, 2 clicks within 2 seconds, more than 10 clicks in 30 seconds, et cetera. Those are all going to be really strong bot indicators. Each reason code is going to map to a specific rule, and when a click is flagged, we remove either that specific click or all of the offending clicks in more extreme examples. So it's about protecting integrity without losing that true engagement. Historically, and you've heard me say this for years now, 66 of all email clicks are going to be coming from a security click bot. That number's really creeping higher. You've all seen a couple bigger increases, a couple spikes over the last 6-9 months here. We're now seeing months where it's in the high 70s, even low 80s at this point. It's not just an Omeda thing, it's happening across the entire industry, which means if you're reporting on email performance without filtering this out, you're likely overstating your engagement. So before you share these numbers with advertisers, check your bot reports in Omeda, understand how your brand compares to industry benchmarks and overall benchmarks, and use that insight to educate and build trust. There's a huge opportunity here to go out to your advertising base as that trusted voice in the industry, do a little more education, and really position yourselves as that market leader. At this point in today's environment, that transparency is really going to be your edge. Digging in a little bit more, we've seen how that percentage is steadily increasing, but here's where it really adds up. This chart shows absolute number of bot clicks negated, and it's rising sharply. So not only are these bots becoming more aggressive, but we're also sending more emails. Great problem to have. More campaigns, more volume, more opportunities for bots too. So while the percentage story is concerning, the raw data story here is even more urgent, because it's not just distortion, it's distortion at scale, which means accurate filtering, tracking, and advertiser communication now matters a lot, even more now than ever before. This isn't necessarily new information to many of you. I know we've done this a lot of times before. They've kind of become a mainstay in media, in publishing at this point. In the last few months, though, a new villain has kind of shown up in this arena. We're talking about these data center IP clicks. These are automated systems that are still scanning links for security reasons, but they look more and more like human clicks. So a lot of those easier to spot patterns are becoming harder to filter out because we've essentially taught the bots to act like humans at this point. That is challenging. It's triggering a lot of false positives. It's inflating our click rates. This is why on May 1st, we rolled out IP-based suppressions to filter out known data center traffic. The results here were immediate. We immediately saw a 10.7% drop in true clicks in just the first week compared to the previous 10-week average. By the following week, about 30%, a little over 30% of the tracked clicks were being suppressed across Omeda clients. Clicks that would have otherwise been counted as human clicks. Here's how bad it is. We kind of did a comparison between some clients who had it turned on and turned off. Without that advanced bot click tracking, 76% of the clicks were flagged as non-human traffic. With it turned on, that jumps up to 90%. So bottom line here, if you are not filtering out this activity, you're likely making decisions based on noise as opposed to signal. And this update's really gonna help ensure that you're measuring real engagement and not chasing bots, not chasing ghosts. Let's talk about some other channels. We've had a full year of SMS as a capability, as a functionality within the Omeda platform. I know many of you have taken it on and added it as part of your multi-channel marketing stack here. We have a pretty clear picture of how the channel performs at this point and where the potential really lies. We're seeing a modest average list size of going out to about 900 to 1,000 people or so at a time. What stood out, though, was the quality of the engagement. Delivery rates are averaging 95.1% at this point, extremely high, meaning these messages are landing in the inbox, et cetera, as opposed to spam folders or black holes. But it's the click data that really tells the story here. We saw an average total click-through rate of about 17% and a 12% unique click rate, meaning 1 in 8 subscribers are engaging with this content through SMS. It's a really powerful signal. This channel isn't just for reminders. It's not just for transactional communication here at this point. It's a valuable path for intent-rich content delivery, especially for time-sensitive announcements or high-value campaigns. Most common examples we are seeing at this point are anything around subscription renewals or requals, event marketing texts, or even premium content pushes. That was a big surprise and kind of not what we were expecting to see on this. So the takeaway here, SMS isn't gonna scale like email. There are additional privacy steps you need to go through in terms of capturing those opt-ins. This is a different type of communication channel, but it's really punching above its weight right now on the engagement side of things, especially when it's used thoughtfully and sparingly. Let's talk a little bit more on the website side of things. Let's talk about known versus unknown. This is showing what's working when it comes to increasing the percentage of known audience on your site. People who have identified themselves through a form, logging into your website, registering, going through a gated asset, anything like that. First, notice the top 10 performers. They do share some common behaviors. Most of their content is gated behind a reg wall or a paywall. They produce distinctive high-value content, not just generic news. They've implemented content metering, another great feature that Omeda has that many of you are taking advantage of and that we're building on, not to tease the product section a little too much here, giving users a few free reads before they're prompted for registration or login. They also qualify their newsletter signups. These companies are only sending to people that fit their ideal customer profile. They're asking for a little more upfront. And then most importantly, they're treating return visitors differently from new ones, tailoring that journey to really deepen the engagement here. Let's compare that with the broader trend. The average known percentage across clients is slowly rising. Used to sit around 4%, 4.2% was our average for a really long time, as recently as early 2024. It's gone up to about 5.5% at this point. It's encouraging, but the top performers are really showing us what that potential is, what's possible within these groups here, and showing that that known percentage of 20% is really achievable at this point. So big takeaway here, knowing your audience starts with being intentional about how and when you ask people to identify themselves. Let's talk how your audience strategy needs to evolve here. Kind of looks nothing like it did 5 years ago at this point. And the best publishers are evolving really fast. It starts with gated content, whether, as we just talked about, it's a registration wall, a paywall, a data wall, not necessarily making them give up their email address, but maybe asking a demographic question or two to help convert that anonymous traffic into known. But that only works if you capture this email address early and before the user drifts away. Once they're in, though, don't wait. Drop them right into that nurture series, use progressive profiling to collect more data intent over time. Don't try and do all of it at once. I'm sure all of you have your own data in terms of people where you're asking 10 questions right from the jump are going to disappear and not come back with all of this. Keep the user experience as frictionless as possible and give yourself an opportunity to collect richer data as that engagement deepens. You can layer on third-party data, third-party engagement tools. There's a great opportunity with some of our friends out in the hall that are able to help fill in the blanks in some of these cases. You can make it a little bit more fun, quizzes, contests, et cetera, especially around intent and preferences. I think this industry has a big opportunity to capture and store a lot more behavioral data and turn that into demographics. These don't all need to be declarative statements that are being made just to bring them into the database here. But it doesn't start with data collection, or it doesn't stop with data collection. Certainly, we need to activate that audience. It means going beyond basic tags, pulling in those user behavior signals, and then finally being proactive on the other side of this. Watch for those early signs of disengagement. A drop in opens or time on site is your cue to really start re-engaging people before they turn into churn. This is really what modern audience operations looks like. It needs to be intentional, it needs to be data rich, and it always needs to be evolving. So kind of going to the end here, we're gonna do a little 5 truths and a lie here. Here's where we've landed. 5 core truths that every modern media operator needs to internalize, and one that's a very intentional lie here. Let's be honest, audience ops is anything but easy at this point. If anything, it's the connective tissue here that's holding all of these other truths together. So let's talk about what it takes to really do this well and where we go from here. So truth number 1, first-party audience data is your moat. Let's be blunt, and James talked about this right from the jump, going through both what we're seeing overall as well as the results from the State of Audience report. The platforms you've been relying on all of these years is a trap. Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, they are changing the rules constantly. You don't own those algorithms, and you don't own the audience. You're renting access, and you're paying more for the same group of people every single year. Your only way out here is first-party data. When you know who your users are, when you've got emails, preferences, behaviors, intent signals, you have a moat no other platform is going to be able to take away. So if you think of it a little bit like a pyramid, at the base here, journey mapping, voyage mapping, how users find you and move through your content, segmentation, grouping users by value and interest, behavioral analytics, what they read, when they engage, what other kind of signals are being sent, and at the top here, owned audience data, actual identities and people that you can reach out to anytime without relying on the permission from a third-party platform that is going to be able to control and or throttle your reach and or charge you more. It's your power, it's your insurance here, so then that's what really turns this audience into a true asset. Truth number 2, you are a community builder, not a content marketer. Let's be real, at this point, content is no longer scarce. that connection is. The old content marketing playbook that HubSpot and their inbound program really made famous going back 15 years ago was all about volume. Publish more content, chase more reach, report on page views, but that's shifting. None of that is building belonging here. Modern audience growth is all about community, and that means shifting from content output to human connection. Community building is qualitative. It's about shared identity, engagement, and emotional loyalty. Because when people feel like they're part of something, similar to what we try and do with this OX conference, they're gonna stick around. They're not just reading from you, but they're interacting with each other, and they're gonna stay part of that community. It also means making your brand resilient. Platforms can tweak algorithms, competitors can copy your content, but they can't replicate your community culture. So instead of just asking, how much did we publish this week? Let's ask, are our readers talking to each other? Are we creating space for conversations and shared language? Are we tracking relationships and not just reach? This is really the shift that we're seeing from audience as traffic to audience a little bit more as a tribe. Truth number 3, we talk about this all the time, vanity metrics are the enemy here. To state it very plainly, your vanity metrics are lying to you in a lot of cases. Yes, the page views look impressive, but they don't build loyalty. They don't predict revenue. They just inflate your dashboard, and unfortunately, in some cases, your ego or the team's egos in a lot of cases. We chase the wrong numbers, and we celebrate the wrong wins here. Same with open rates, click rates. We all know bots trigger them, spam filters inflate them. They're noisy, not meaningful. And if you're still measuring success by reach or impressions, you have to ask yourself if you truly own that audience. Because if you can't message them directly, you don't own anything, and you're really just renting that audience from a platform that's gonna be able to change the rules tomorrow. That's how your strategy is gonna get derailed. Real measurement is about depth, not volume. How long did they stick around? Did they come back? Did they engage meaningfully? Advertisers, what we're starting to see is they're seeing through the fluff a little bit more effectively now. They want impact, not eyeballs, and so should you, because in modern media, this quality audience is going to equal a competitive advantage. Truth number 4, candidly, this one's my favorite. Dark social is gonna drive your audience growth. So here's the truth. Your most valuable audience conversations are happening where you are unable to see them. They are in Slack groups, WhatsApp threads, iMessage chat, private Discords, places where analytic tools are not going to be able to track and your public reach really doesn't matter. So this is what we call dark social, invisible, trusted networks where real communities and decisions get made. And the influence here is massive. A single link shared in a niche Slack group can drive more action than 1,000 Twitter impressions. But the catch here, and the part that marketers love to destroy, there's no way to game the system. You can't break in, you can't trick these algorithms, you can't game your way into these spaces. Promotional content is going to get rejected instantly. What spreads in dark social is useful, human, and authentic. This is where you need to spend a little time. This is gonna be your challenge. It's not just reach, it's shareability in the shadows. You need to create content that makes someone say, I have to forward this to my team, or this is perfect for our group chat. This means fewer CTAs, a lot more value, fewer headlines, and more insights. Because in dark social, trust is the algorithm. And the media brands that are designed for this are gonna grow in places that their competitors can't even see. Truth 5, customer acquisition cost and lifetime value is non-negotiable. If you don't know what these are for your brands or individual brand, you're flying blind here. Every audience member represents an economic story. How much did it cost to acquire them? How long did they stick around? How much value did they generate for you over time? And the answer is never one number. Your economics are going to vary by channel, by persona, by product. And if you're treating all users the same, you're gonna be leaving money on the table. The best operators treat this like a supply chain. They track acquisition costs by source. They measure engagement velocity, how fast users activate and retain. They understand what that payback period is. How long does it take to earn that money back from the cost of the individual user? And they monitor value delivery, direct revenue and indirect contributions like referrals or influence. And they model this LTV to customer acquisition cost ratio to make sure every dollar is really worth it. It's not just a finance exercise, it's a strategic lens that shows you where to double down and where to pull back. because in modern media, the brands that win aren't the ones that have the most traffic. They're the ones that understand who is truly worth acquiring in the first place and keeping around. So finally, our truth number 6, audience ops, and clearly I am biased in this statement, is the hardest job in media. It's also one of the least understood roles, I think, at this point. It's really evolved a lot over these last few years because it sits at the intersection of art and science. You need to be a data analyst who can parse these behavioral patterns. You need to be a marketer who understands engagement and psychology. You need to be a technologist who's able to investigate emerging technology and understand how it all fits into your corporate strategy. And you need to be that strategist who speaks finance, storytelling, and product all at once. This isn't just campaign management, it's orchestration. You're blending all of these audience insights, platform mechanics, content dynamics, and revenue goals into one fluid operation. And because the skill set is so rare, the best audience pros, many of you are in the room, are increasingly in high demand, and I underline this part, and rightfully commanding premium compensation. I was expecting at least one applause. That's fine. I flubbed the line, you know? It was so close. So what makes it even harder? It's often invisible, right? You are the connective tissue across your content, your marketing, your data teams, and your revenue groups, but your impact doesn't always show up in a single chart. So if you're doing this work or hiring for it, you need to understand it's more than just filling a seat within your team. You're putting someone in charge of future-proofing your business. So, and we're gonna have James come back up here to talk a little bit more about product. With audience as your foundation here, along with your high-value, unique content, let's talk more about how Omeda is helping drive outcomes. Thanks, everybody.